Summerlin from Chicago, Illinois. Just wanted to give a huge shout out to the Relay for all the love and support they've given my team and I. And make sure you stay tuned for all the latest boxing news.
Welcome to the motherfucking Relay. We're covering today's top boxing news. Ow!
Okay, we'll start with this. Unbeaten up-and-comer Raquel Miller is set to return to action this weekend against seasoned journeywoman Irais Hernandez.
Smith Park in Pico Rivera, California.
As part of a Marv Nations promotion show. Marv Nations, they do a lot of shows over there on the West Coast. They are one of the smaller local promotional outfits, but they are a well-to-do outfit, and they stage cards regularly. This fight that Raquel is about to have is being billed as a super middleweight contest. Super middleweight, that's where Franchon Cruz reigns as that division's undisputed champion, having boxed Aline Cedar-Ruz, then unbeaten unified champion Aline Cedar-Ruz, for the other two alphabet titles at this weight.
It was a fun fight to watch, but it was lopsided. Franchon beat the fuck out of Aline Cedar-Ruz.
And if Raquel Miller is currently campaigning as a super middleweight, that can only mean that she aspires to at some point get Franchon in the ring. Raquel sports a professional record of 11 wins, no losses, and no draws. She's 37 years old.
Irais Hernandez is 38.
Irais, who's already boxed 2 times this year, in May against Luisa Mesa, and then again last month against Daniela Rodriguez.
Both Raquel and Irais have seen action in the last 12 months.
Neither fighter has any ring rust they need to shake off. Both fighters are more or less in the same age bracket, with Raquel being 37 and Irais being 38. There's not much between them aside from the disparity in skill, the disparity in the fighter's ceiling. Even though Raquel Miller's no spring chicken and she's not getting any younger, the level of talent...
She's got a much higher ceiling than Hernandez by far.
Irais Hernandez, who shared the ring with the likes of Jade Green, Emma Kozin, Marisela Cornejo, these are all fighters that beat her.
Alejandra
Jimenez beat Irais as well. Irais, who sports a professional record of 4 wins, 4 losses, and 2 draws, never been stopped. Raquel Miller, she's an educated boxer, finesse fighting kind of fighter, but she's not an artillery fighter. She's not the most heavy-handed fighter. So Raquel Miller on points would be the safe bet.
This will be Raquel's second fight in the last 12 months, her first fight of this year.
She was in action late last year. Here she is returning to action in the month of August. If she makes it through this, the way I think she can, the way I think she will, there's still time to get her back out there at least one more time before this year is out, so she can have a more productive 2022 than 2021 was.
The best win on Raquel's resume so far is a points decision win over a then unbeaten Alma Ibarra.
Alma Ibarra, who very recently made the decision to retire from the sport of boxing after being throttled by Chicago's own Jessica McCaskill down there at welterweight.
I feel like Raquel Miller needs to step it up. She's not getting any younger.
I understand that sometimes there are extenuating circumstances and sometimes the fighter's schedule, at times, is beyond their own control, the availability of resources and opponents and what it takes to get those opponents in the ring. I mean, I understand, but I also understand that time is of the essence, and time waits for no man or woman.
It's unfortunate that Raquel's not campaigning as a junior middleweight anymore.
The junior middleweight division is now a more densely populated division than it was back when Raquel was campaigning there 2 or 3 years ago.
Raquel campaigning as a super middleweight, you have to wonder if she can even make junior middleweight anymore. She's 37 years old.
But I'll tell you something. If Raquel Miller, by some chance, can still make 154 pounds, then she should, because there are more opportunities there and more well-to-do promotional outfits. You must consider that Natasha Jonas, who is backed by Sky Sports and Boxer,
she's got a title there, and she's about to participate in a unification match.
Very soon, Terry Harpier will be challenging Hannah Rankin for Hannah's WBA title. And as we all know, Terry Harper is backed by Matchroom and boxes on DAZN. Marie-Eve Dicaire, Canadian-based IBF champion Marie-Eve Dicaire, is backed by Yvonne Michelle, Gym Promotions, yet another well-to-do promotional outfit.
Hell, even unbeaten Mary Spencer, who's climbing up those ranks, she's with Eye of the Tiger management.
Today's junior middleweight division isn't a barren division the way that it used to be 2 or 3 years ago. It's a more densely populated division, a more densely populated weight class with more well-to-do promotional outfits that have ponies in that junior middleweight show. And it's unfortunate that Raquel Miller is not campaigning there, because I think she could make a splash if she could still make the weight, though I'm not sure sure she can. She's up there at 168 pounds now.
She's going to be returning to action this weekend. Raquel Miller on points is the prediction.
Raquel Miller on points is the pick. What the future holds for Raquel, what exactly, it's still murky. It's still unclear. Let's see what the rest of the year might hold for this unbeaten up-and-comer. Men's light heavyweight news, I'm sure you've heard already. The World Boxing Association auction between Dimitri Bivol and Gilberto Ramirez, due to be held on Sunday, was suspended because both sides reached an agreement to fight on November 5th in the UAE.
It's my understanding that Eddie Hearn is going to bring several shows to that part of the world.
Joshua versus Usyk 2 being one among them, Dimitri Bivol versus Gilberto Ramirez being another. And on the undercard of that fight, we're going to see Jessica McCaskill versus Chantel Kimron. It hasn't been officially announced yet,
so it might be by the time that this video is uploaded and more undercard information is made available.
And as stated, it's my understanding that by way of Eddie Hearn's relationships with certain people in that part of the world, Matchroom is set to do a series of fights in that part of the world. Veteran boxing scribe Marcos Villegas of Fight Hub, he wasn't happy to hear this news, saying, man, what the fuck? Zurdo versus Bivol belongs in LA, not the fucking UAE.
And if they were doing that fight in LA instead of the UAE, the fighters wouldn't be getting paid what they're about to get paid.
It's a pretty short-sighted comment from Marcos, who's been in this business for a long time. He knows if they're doing a fight over there, there's big money involved. More money than the fight would make in Los Angeles. Zurdo by himself. He doesn't do big gates, and neither does Dimitri Bivol, a Russian import. If you tried to do the fight in America, it might do all right at the gate, might get some attention, don't get me wrong, especially since Bivol just beat Canelo Alvarez, the most high-profile win anywhere at or around these weights. You could do all right at the gate,
but you're not going to make what you stand to make in the UAE. There's a lot of long money out there.
And that's the way this business works. You do the fight where the fight stands to make the most money.
And it ain't Los Angeles.
Dimitri Bivol sports professional record of 20 wins, no losses, and no draws with 11 knockouts. His 20 wins.
Dimitri Bivol's 20 wins are more impressive than Gilberto Ramirez's 44.
Zurdo Ramirez has more than half the fights Dimitri Bivol does, but Dimitri's 20 fights are more ambitious than Gilberto's 44.
With victories over John Pascal, Joe Smith Jr.,
Isaac Chilemba, Sullivan Barrera, more recently Canelo Alvarez, Dimitri Bivol has been around the block at 175 pounds, whereas Gilberto is still making his bones at that weight, more or less.
And I said it before, I'll say it again. This fight, for my money, is a better fight than the Buatsi fight would have been, because Joshua Buatsi, is a lot greener than Zurdo Ramirez.
It's about time that Zurdo Ramirez participated in what could be a signature fight, a fight that could serve as a launch pad for his career, because Zurdo Ramirez has been around a very long time, and he's got a lot of fights, a lot of fucking fights, close to 50, but his
career still hasn't taken off. He's still not a household name, even though he's got the right ingredients.
We all know those Chicano fight fans. They move the needle in this country in terms of metrics, and yet for some reason, Zurdo Ramirez, his career really hasn't taken off. Not yet. One can make the inference that it has a lot to do with his quality of competition. People are expecting better, and they can't be fooled.
He was with Top Rank for a long time now. He's with Golden Boy.
Golden Boy's figurehead, Oscar De La Hoya, took to social media stating, "Done deal, we are headed to Abu Dhabi November 5th to prove what I already know. Zurdo Ramirez will crown himself world champion versus Dimitri Bivol."
I was wondering for a while who would helm the promotion for this fight, because we know that Oscar De La Hoya and Eddie Hearn aren't bosom buddies.
But the fight landing in the UAE indirectly gives us our answer. Oscar De La Hoya has no network connections in the UAE, in that part of the world. Eddie Hearn and Matchroom, they do. And if the fight ended up there, that essentially means that it's Matchroom at the helm of promotion. It's Matchroom in control of the show, and Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy, they're just along for the ride.
They ain't the lead promoter.
And they aren't bankrolling any of this. In truth, it's likely not Matchroom bankrolling any of this either. It's their buddies in the UAE that want to put on this show, that want Matchroom to do do a series of fights in that part of the world. It's all about relationships.
Don't you remember when Bob Arum was trying to get the money for a Crawford versus Pacquiao fight in that part of the world and he couldn't get it, so the fight never happened?
It's all about relationships. Bob Arum and Top Rank, they're based out of Las Vegas, Nevada. And even though the promotional outfit has been around for a very long time, and they do have international connections, they do have international friends, they themselves, as a promotional outfit, aren't international. Matchroom is.
It's gonna be interesting to see how Top Rank in Queensbury get Tyson Fury what he's looking for, because he wants a lot of money for that Usyk fight.
And neither Frank Warren or Bob Arum have any relationships with those Saudis, to my knowledge. They haven't done any shows out there either, so it's going to be very interesting to see who's going to bankroll that thing. How do they end up getting it over the line, if they get it over the line at all? Back to Bivol versus Ramirez.
If Zurdo Ramirez is more than what he's been for the last 44 fights, this is his opportunity to show it.
A win over Dmitry Bivol could very well be the launch pad for what remains of Zurdo's rather unremarkable career. If he's more than just a mid-range to inside volume puncher, a pressure guy, a tall guy.
This is his chance to show it. And don't forget what's on the other side of this fight.
This ain't just about winning a title, winning a fucking alphabet title in the light heavyweight division. Don't you understand? If he goes in there and he batters Dmitry Bivol, he's battering the guy that just beat up the face of boxing in this country.
Dmitry Bivol just beat Canelo Alvarez. He outclassed him. Did you miss that?
So if Zurdo Ramirez goes in there and outclasses Dmitry Bivol, or worse, he batters him, he stops him, he can then put the pressure on Canelo Alvarez to take him on. And the battle for the heart of Mexican boxing can begin.
This ain't like Jim Mortalo or one of those guys calling out Canelo Alvarez. Nobody gives a fuck about Jim Mortalo.
Nobody! You wanna know why? Guys like Jim Mortalo, they ain't got no signature fights, no signature wins. All they got are unbeaten records, and they think because they're unbeaten fighters, that makes them special. Whereas Zurdo...
Yeah. Zurdo's an unbeaten fighter too, but if he beats Dmitry Bivol, that's a cherry on top.
That, in effect, sets the stage and gives Zurdo the precedence to call Canelo Alvarez out, to return to the light heavyweight division and battle him for the heart and soul of Mexican boxing. And this would be one call-out that Canelo Alvarez can't ignore.
Yeah, Guillermo Chalo, Demetrius Andre, David Benavidez.
Just a bunch of fucking nobodies. Nobodies. Calling out Canelo Alvarez, all the while standing single file, not doing nothing to get the audience's attention. Well, the audience will be paying attention if Zurdo goes in there and batters Dmitry Bivol.
But whether or not he can is quite another matter. How do you feel?
Do you think Zurdo Ramirez has what it takes to upset the apple cart for Russia's own unbeaten fighter, unbeaten champion, Dmitry Bivol? Or will Dmitry outclass Zurdo the same way he just outclassed his countryman, Canelo Alvarez?
This fall, we're going to find out in the UAE when they share the ring.
Finally, in men's heavyweight news, Fury-Usyk on facing Tyson Fury. That is what I am dreaming of every day. I'm gonna beat his ass.
You may notice a rabble of Anthony Joshua's fans have now lended their support to Fury-Usyk in this endeavor.
They want him to succeed. They want him to beat Tyson Fury. In truth, you may find a separate rabble of individuals that are just outright sick of Tyson Fury.
Not even because of the Joshua stuff. They just want somebody to shut Fury up.
This fight was extremely important for my country and team and for me, he said. I boxed for the whole country and half of the world. It also differed from the first fight with Joshua that I could not control my emotions, especially in round 9. That was one surprising element. I saw in round 8 in his eyes that he was feeling victorious already. I kept telling myself, you cannot stop. You cannot stop. You cannot stop.
You might remember that round 9 was a particularly strong round for Anthony Joshua. He hurt Usyk in that round.
At which point, Usyk rallied back and regained control in round 10, being the busier fighter, the busier puncher in that round, and winning the round decisively.
He didn't allow Anthony Joshua to build on his success.
Some big things were at stake, and thank God the belts are coming back to Ukraine. Victory is for us, and Ukraine won. The reason the belts are coming to Ukraine is that Anthony did not use his physical advantages until the end, he says. Size doesn't matter when you are fighting. That was a real war in the ring, and then size is not important. This is where real spirit works.
Usyk says size don't matter in the ring. That's one of Tyson Fury's advantages over Usyk.
One of the glaring advantages Tyson Fury has over Usyk, you can see right away. He's got a lot of size on Usyk. Can he overcome Tyson Fury's size the same way he did Anthony Joshua's? Frank Warren doesn't seem to think so. He says Fury is just too big, has too much ammunition for Usyk.
In Frank Warren's defense, a lot of people feel that way. So while he might just be towing the company line,
it is indicative of how some fight fans feel about this particular fight. There were talks before the AJ fight, and Tyson had to make his mind up, Warren told Sky Sports. But he's made his mind up, and he wants the fight. Usyk wants the fight, and we've got to work out a way to make it happen. They both know that the fight's worth a lot of money, which it is. So it's whether, is it going to go back to Saudi? Is it going to go somewhere else? Who knows? One thing's for sure. There's no problem in making the fight. Both camps get along very well with each other.
It's all sunshine and rainbows when you ask Frank about it, though in truth, Tyson Fury has made his feelings clear.
Crystal clear. Where Usyk says he's fighting Fury, or he's not fighting, Tyson Fury says the only way he's fighting Alexander Usyk is for $500 million.
Tyson Fury ain't a guy you can exactly take at his word.
You really can't, but you do get the sense that he does mean business when he says that he wants a fuck ton of money for this fight, or he won't fight Usyk.
That's what he said on his own social media. Those are his words, not mine.
I was watching it and I felt like Usyk. I liked what he did, but I feel a real big heavyweight. I'm talking about a heavyweight who has good whiskers, who's got good work rate, who could beat him, Warren said. Joe, for example, he's got a good work rate. He's got a very good chin. I think he gives him a lot of problems. And I think Tyson gives him huge problems as well. I think they'd be just too big and have too much ammunition for him. And someone ought to tell Frank that
they fought.
Usyk wouldn't be in unfamiliar territory with Joe Joyce because he beat him before in the World Series of Boxing. That semi-pro tournament. And he beat him quite decisively. Joe was a younger man, a much younger man then than he is now, and it's hard to say that he's gotten any better. He still looks the same.
And granted that was a semi-pro tournament, that was a 5-rounder.
Usyk has shared the ring with several different kinds of pressure fighters since then. Joe Joyce among them. He shared the ring with Murat Gassiev, a mid-range to inside puncher in the cruiserweight division. More recently, he faced Derek Chisora, experienced veteran, a guy who fights like he ain't got nothing to lose, a guy who don't go in there and gets hesitant or tentative with his shots. He swings for the fences, he goes for it, and tries to hurt the other guy. Usyk beat him as well.
And in his last 2 fights, he overcame the size and punching power of Anthony Joshua.
Usyk's not in unfamiliar territory with a mid-range to inside guy that's looking to crowd him, a guy that might have size advantages and reach advantages, a guy who might be a stronger puncher. He's not in unfamiliar territory in any of those areas, so he has had the necessary preparation for such a match with a statuesque heavyweight who's looking to impose his size on him.
So is size really all it takes? Is size going to be enough?
Size and size alone, that's it?
Because that's all anybody seems to bring up, that Tyson Fury's got a good beard and he's got a lot of size, but is he actually a better boxer than Alexander Usyk?
There really is only one way to find out, and that's to get those two boys in the ring, and therein lies a dilemma. It's up to Frank and Bob to figure out how they're going to do that.